speaker is Dr. Jerry Merkel, and he was with the University of North Florida as a professor of electrical engineering and associate dean of the College of Computing, Engineering, and Construction. He has experience with nuclear engineering with the U.S. Atomic Energy Commission, computer engineering with the IBM PC company, multiple startup company experience, a number of professional awards, including one of the top contributors to IBM PC company, Engineer of the Year, Florida Engineering Society, a lot of math stuff. I bet you a lot of you are just, your eyes are rolling back into your head, aren't they? But he's not here to talk to us about engineering. He's here to talk to us about classic charter schools, which is why we've invited him to come and speak to us today. With 8 grandchildren, he is concerned about America's future. So please welcome Dr. Jerry Merkel. I forgot. I didn't have my schedule in front of me. You guys are expecting Dennis Michael Lynch, and I am very sorry. He did cancel on us yesterday, which is why we were able to procure Dr. Jerry Merkel. He'll have a schedule out soon, and I hope that you'll be able to see him, but I'm sorry that he didn't make it today.
Your moderator runs a tight ship. Also, you know, I'm just recently out of the classroom, and this reminds me of an afternoon class. You've had lunch. It's tough. I might say if I were in class, everybody stand up and turn around and just shake and move around a little bit. Also, your last speaker was pretty dynamic, and I'm just an engineer, so I'm here with the facts. I'm going to speak about American education. And I actually bring, first of all, greetings from the First Coast Tea Party in Jacksonville. I'm almost a founding member of that, and do all kinds of things just like you do, go out and walk for candidates, stand on street corners, and all that kind of thing. I have a story to tell you. So in the First Coast Tea Party, we have an education group. And another member of that group is Bill Korak, who's very serious about education. I myself am going out and giving a discussion on climate warming, or energy, or illegal immigration, or the U.S. finances. In fact, when I look at America, is there any dimension in America that's positive? Can anybody point me at one? I can't. Everywhere I look, it looks pretty bad to me. But actually, I'm bringing good news today. This is something we can do, you can do, you can do, and I can do. So I happened to meet Bill not too long ago, and he had been at a history conference. Bill's a very avid person with regard to a good education. Actually, he wrote a textbook when I first met him on Judeo, Christianity, the background in terms of education. And then he went on to do an assessment of all the textbooks in the great state of Florida. Many of them have falsehoods in it with regard to things like you get a paragraph on Christianity, a paragraph on Judaism, and you get 7 pages on Muslim or Islamic. So he actually has a very detailed research report on all the textbooks being used in the state of Florida. And then he started going around to the school boards, and he said, well, that didn't fly. Their eyes glaze over and they look at you and they give you 3 minutes. So he went on from there and he formed an online magazine on education called The Report Card. And I have the references in here, and also circulating a pad of paper. If you want a copy of this presentation, I will send it to you personally. Just put your name and email ID on it so I can read it, and I will send you this presentation. Well, Bill and his friend Marty McCarthy, an Episcopal priest, were at this history conference, and there was a presenter there from Great Hearts. Great Hearts, good name, right? Great Hearts. They're a charter management organization in the state of Arizona, now expanding into the state of Texas. And their academic results are here, way up here, and the rest of America is way down here. So Bill and Marty were on their way to go negotiate with the senior executives of that group, and I've done some of that, so I said, well, I'll go with you. So I went and we met with the CEO, the CFO, and the CTO, and our objective was to try to form a partnership to bring their education model to the state of Florida. Well, they're very gracious, and but they're so busy They can't build schools fast enough. They have currently 19 schools, and I'll give you some of their stats here. The demand for them is really high. Why is the demand so high? If you have children or grandchildren, do you want them to have a good education? And they haven't. And I'll demonstrate by the statistics that are here. So we decided, well, that's not going to work. So, because they're good and maybe they get here 4 years from now, we'll just go do it ourselves. So at that point, I resigned from the university. And Bill and I formed a nonprofit. We just got our 501c3. And we actually have 4 clients. We have a pastor in Duval County. We have a parent group in Clay County. We have a parent group in Martin County. And how about this? We have the American Legion of St. Johns County. So my personal objective in this is to have a classical, and I'll explain what that means, charter school in every county in the great state of Florida. 67. If we do that, and people see the academic performance of this type of education, it will force change. So there are approximately 600 charter schools in the state of Florida. There are approximately 40 in Duval County, in Jacksonville. Of those, 14 are failing, so there are all kinds of charter schools. Does everybody know what a charter school is? It is a public school. So it is funded by the state of Florida, and in a given county, that school reports to the superintendent. So there's a very onerous application process to go through. I've looked at several, they're anywhere from 400 to 700 pages long. And there's a lot of politics with this. There are some folks who don't want charter schools. Can you imagine that? Taking our money. Whose money? Speaking of money, Washington, D.C. spends over $30,000 per student per year, academic year. And they rank last in America on academic achievement of their students. In Duval County, we spend about $10,500 per student. St. John's would make the claim, that's the county just south of us, that we're best in the state of Florida based upon the various assessment tests like FCAT. And that's true, they do pretty good, but you know what? Florida's average among the 50 states. And I'll show you in a moment that the United States of America is tanking in education. In fact, on the rank, we are down with Lithuania and Slovakia. How about that? So, if you take a look at this slide, and some of you may not be able to see the slides over there, I don't know, if you wanted to maybe move over here a little bit. But what do you see on this slide?
Shipwreck.
A sinking ship. That's American education today. I'm going to give you the stats, but I bring you good news. You and I can change it. So my assignment to each representative here from the different Tea Parties around the great state of Florida, at the end of this, you go home, you form a citizens group, and Bill and I and a couple of others will help you get through the approval process and help you launch your charter school. I put down here the reference. It turns out this gentleman is a speaker tomorrow. He's really good, so you're really in great shape. I'm not here to knock No Child Left Behind or Race to the Top or Common Core, but Dr. Pesta has a 2-hour video, and he takes you through the history of Common Core, what's good and bad about it, and it's sobering, I'm here to tell you. So I posted it right here. You just go click on that, just swipe it and put it in and click on it. So this is just a brief summary of who we are. We call ourselves Cornerstone like the corner of a one-room schoolhouse. We have a few people. How about this? We have Jennifer Carroll, the former Lieutenant Governor of the great state of Florida, has joined us. We have some associates, and we're building our associate profile. We are in a partnership or an associate relationship with Hillsdale College. Hillsdale College, when you start your school, at no cost to you, Hillsdale College will come in and help you with the curriculum, and teacher training and things of that nature. Also, they graduate students, so they're a source of teachers. These are just recommendations to the founding board. The founding board makes all decisions with regard to that particular school. So, but we have like the Haskell Company, who has a division that builds schools, and they're really good at what they do. So and they can help you with the finance. So we have also a lawyer who specializes in charters. We're talking with others. I'm in the process of closing a deal right now with a drug testing company. No drugs in my school, either staff or students. And we have a couple of others lined up like food service. I guarantee you, if you start a school, you don't want to deal with food service and dealing with the federal government and having all that. Every spreadsheet I look at, it's a loser. You're losing money, and this company says, not to worry, we'll take care of it. So you contract that out. And also accounting. You need to publish your annual audits in the format required by the state of Florida. They want to compare apples to apples and so forth. So there are all kinds of charters. Some specialize perhaps in science or medicine. Some choose to go into disadvantaged neighborhoods, KIPP, for example. And God bless them, it's a tough road to hoe, right? And they do fairly well. So in the state of Florida, I said they're going on 600 of these now. There are only approximately 4 classical curriculum. I'm going to define what classical means in a minute. But I was really pleased the other day. About 2 weeks ago, I came across a new application for a new charter in Miami-Dade County called True North Classical Academy. And you can Google this one, True North Classical Academy. And they have 4 board members on this, the founding board. One of them is Jeb Bush Jr. What? Jeb Bush Jr.? Wow. And then you go look at this, it's a classical curriculum. What? I wonder if Jeb Bush knows that Jeb Bush Jr. is doing a classical curriculum. I suppose. Now the truth of the matter here, and I'll point out some nuggets. By the way, the information I share with you doesn't have to be a charter school. It can be a private school, it can be a religious school, it can be homeschooling. These components can be used in any of those formats. It is interesting, though, that the people who provide content, in other words, for teachers and textbooks and so forth, if they want to stay in business, they had to change and declare that they're Common Core compliant. If they didn't do that, they're going to go out of business. So I actually brought 1 or 2 here. I'm lifting the chair there, but you look at it, it's ugly, and I get a headache when I look at it. It just goes on with the minutiae and it's great detail. I don't know how anybody can deal with it, whether it's teachers, the school, and you watch what happens when we get around to doing the new test being replacing FCAT as FSA, Florida Standards Assessment. And I think you're going to have it going down. But be sure and catch that video by Dr. Peston. I'm sure he'll do an outstanding job tomorrow and give you all the details and history of Common Core. One point he makes in his video is that the 5 people who did this are not qualified to do it. And there's one math guy who's not qualified to do this. And on his video, he says, this is the person who defined the math standards. Probably the performance level in math will go down 2 grade levels due to Common Core. What? He's the guy that defined it. And don't worry about the detail here, just look at the size of the circles. This is an assessment of countries, the top 12 in the world, they spend money on education. The biggest circle up there is America at about $800 billion. We spend a lot of money. We spend more money than anybody else in the world. And off to my side over here, little bitty circle, there's Finland there at about 10 billion. And so we see where we rank among these 12 that's spending this kind of money. So we spend the most, we're 1 out of 12. Look where we rank among those 12 with science and math, near the bottom. We're not getting pay for performance here. This is not so good. In fact, I'll show you, every year we look at the measures, it's going down, 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 and the money goes up, up, up. So on the far side here, about 1978, the U.S. Department of Education, as well as teacher unions, came into favor. And look at the expenditure rate, straight up. And you see those horizontal lines going across the bottom? That's performance. So, no performance gain. In fact, the performance is going down. And yet we keep spending more and more money. It's not the money. I wonder what the inhibitors are. Do you ever stop to think about that? Why can't we have a good education? Too much bureaucracy. How about teachers' unions?
Yeah.
Do you think they're into it for themselves or for the students? There will be no unions in my classical charter schools. You get to control the environment, the founding board. So, students are not getting the return that they need. Over on this side of the chart, there's an assessment done worldwide, 67 countries. It's done every 3 years. And the next time around will be 2015. So it's assessing the performance of the graduates in math and science and reading. So I posted the last 2 rounds up there. What do you see with regard to America? It's poor and going down. And every time I look at this, it gets worse. So could it be centralized bureaucracy doesn't work? Could the Department of Education be out for a grab and control everything? By the way, Rick Scott did some really good things. One is he has delegated the curriculum in the county to the school board. So it's up to the superintendent and the school board to define the curriculum that they're going to use. He's done away with FCAT. He's coming out with FSA. So I don't know how that's going to turn out. They spent so many millions of dollars on Common Core that if you go to the website and take a look at the Florida standards, it boggles your mind and how much time. So it's kind of like being on an aircraft carrier. You know, the commander on an aircraft carrier, you want to go hard left, you say hard left. You know what happens? Nothing. You keep going. It's going to take a long time to turn this ship around, I can tell you that right now. See, he did one other thing. He's moving away from FCAT, and I think that's a good thing. So, but the FSA, the new exam coming out, it's going to be tied to these standards, and I think we're going to have more of the same, personally. Time will tell. So, when you're a high school graduate, you take the ACT exam. It has 4 components to the exam: reading, writing, math, and science. If you pass all 4 categories, you're college ready. So, I can tell you the stats in 2013 from Duval County, my county. You know how many passed of our graduating seniors in 2013? 19%. 81% failed the exam. 31% didn't get one category. They failed them all. And by the way, when you look at America, the averages on the ACT across America, they're not much better. And then you look at year to year, they tend to drift down. So we're failing. I can also say some, I just got out of UNF. Some of our internal metrics along this line, these are now college graduates. They're just as bad. I felt guilty, so I didn't put them up on a slide. So, ACT exam, not doing too well. There's an assessment of American history. Look, they're eliminating American history. They can't even tell you who the Mayflower is, what the Declaration of Independence is all about, what happened in 1776, and what was the Civil War all about. They have no clue. So we're losing our bias, our understanding of our culture. And there's another survey. Younger people, what do they think about America? We're not so great anymore. We're becoming like everybody else. But maybe that's the objective, right? I don't know what the game plan is these days with the current administration. Now, here comes the good news. This is Great Hearts. They have 5 high schools when this exam session took place. So, by the way, one of these high schools is predominantly Hispanic. One of these high schools is predominantly black. Look at that. It's the parent in partnership with the school that are making this work. In fact, I've written up a draft application for these people that we're currently dealing with. There's a parent contract in there. You will participate. And if you don't sign that contract, well, the deal's off. The charter school is a public school. I might speak briefly on how these students are selected. If you remember the school, a teacher or administrative staff you have first priority to placing your student in the school. If you already have a child in the school and you have another one coming up, then the sibling has priority 2. And then children of military have priority 3. And after that, if the enrollment request exceeds the capacity, it's strictly lottery. It's just a random draw who comes into the school. Also, typically, I'll show you the curriculum a little bit. I would not start at K through 12 because the foundation needs to be in place before you get to middle school, before you get to high school. So, for example, my model is maybe a K through 3 or a K through 4, and then start adding grades over time until I get to the 12th grade. I think if you took a student like you had a K through 12 running and take a student from the public school, say 9th grade, and put him into this, I don't think he's going to survive in terms of the discipline and the complexity and the breadth of the education that's required. Look, Arizona has a 10th grade assessment test, their own. That's a state exam. So the average score is 72. And here are the 5 high schools: 100, 99, 98, 98, 95. So I actually had the opportunity to go tour classrooms, 2nd grade, 5th grade, 7th grade. I went to 2 schools when I was out there. I have never seen anything like it. I can guarantee you I never had an education like these young people are doing. One, just a couple of war stories. 2nd grade, there's a change of bell. They all have uniforms, right? They all have uniforms. And behind the teacher come the 2nd graders, 2 by 2s like ducklings. And I say good morning to them. They just smiled at me. Not one said a word. And they all have their hands behind their back. So in transit, there is no talking and there's no touching.
No cell phones?
Oh, no cell phones. There's none of that. There's none of that in this school or any classroom charter. No cell phones, no tablets, no computers. It's all pencil and paper. In fact, many of the classrooms I went into didn't even have a chalkboard. They were all sitting around discussing and debating Socrates or Aristotle or whatever they were. In fact, when you walk into any classroom, you walk into any classroom, the first thing that happens is a Walmart greeter shows up. Student stands up, comes over and says, "Hi, my name is Jerry. This is a class on such and such, and this is what we're talking about today. We're very pleased to have you here today. And you're welcome to stay." It doesn't matter what grade I went into, always had a greeting like that. So, the things that go with this kind of education. You will play on an athletic team in competition with other schools. So the notion of being sound in body is very important. It starts with kindergarten, it goes all the way through to graduation. You will learn to play a musical instrument. You will learn 2 languages beyond English. You will appear in a Shakespearean play before 500 people. And go, wow, I didn't have any of that. And many of these, when you take a detailed look, typically one of the languages is Latin, a minimum of 5 years, beginning in kindergarten. If you really wanted to go, you could go all the way up to like 10th grade with Latin, and get 10 years, 11 years worth of Latin. When you get up to a bit higher, they give you some choices like maybe Spanish or French or German, that kind of thing. So there's magic here underway. I've seen it myself. That's why I came back and quit. That's why I got with Bill and said, let's go do something. Let's do something positive for America. If we don't change what's going on in education, America is going to tank. Exactly. And I'm going to give you some more words on that in a minute.
Bingo.
Well, here, this is the latest. They just posted their scores. I won't go into much detail, but it's the same. They're here, and the rest are down here. So the heartbeat continues. Now here are their stats. They now have 19 schools. They have about 9,500 students enrolled. They have going on 15,000 students wanting to come in. So there's great demand. They can't build these schools fast enough. And so, in fact, here's a thought. In your county, if you have a home builder that has a plot of land, wants to do residential, get him to contribute the land, and maybe even the building, the school building, and it will draw all those people with children who want to have a great education for their children. It's one strategy. The big picture is the following on doing a school, the startup of a school. Great Hearts would say, if wishing made it so, and it had no obstacles, it would be 10 acres, it would be K through 12, it would have gymnasium, it would have an auditorium and all the athletic facilities, including land. That depends on where you're at, $9 to $14 million. Now, their strategy is to get somebody to contribute $1 million, then they go get 20 at 100,000, that's $3 million, then they go finance the rest with low-cost loans. Now, you don't have to do it that way. Some people just go down to the church and start with 3 classrooms. Some find a builder, so there are all different ways to do this. And also, if you're growing the school, you don't need all the buildings right away if you're going to do it. The land, and you do one building like K through 4, and then you add the next one and the next one and so forth. Oh, go back one, please. There's a very important point on the bottom of this. Almost all their students go to college. And of those going to college, look who's going into STEM. More than half of them. That's science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Who are the people that are going to drive the U.S. economy? It's going to be people like this who will help America move forward and be competitive. Just a brief summary. I'm going to come back to this. It turns out, another slide coming up, our U.S. population, about 4% go into STEM. In China, almost 50% go into STEM. So what are the Chinese doing? What are we doing? And they have, 1.5 billion people? Something like that. The history of where this education comes actually comes from the Greeks. So if you were a citizen in Greece, in days past, 2,500 years ago, you had to be fit in body because you might have to go defend the city, and you had to be well educated to be a participant in their democracy. So they evolved a technique over time, and it's tied to our human architecture and how the brain develops. There are 3 phases to this. The young person, they have a former name for it, they call it grammar, I just call it facts. It's A, B, C, 1, 2, 3, 2 times 2 is 4, who are the presidents, and that kind of thing. And then there's basically junior high, and now it gets to logic. It's like, how does your arm move? Well, it moves with bones and ligaments. And then you get to senior high. Why? Why is it like that? So reasoning and thinking, in depth level. So the philosophy, this education is broken broadly into 3 parts. By the way, everybody's different. Some are advanced and some need help. So there's a natural segmentation underway in a classical curriculum. And those that are really good, you help them be better. And those that need more help, you help them be better. Help them be the best that they can be. In the public school system, what happens now? Everybody's the same. If you're advanced, tough luck. You're the same. And I think we have a lot of social promotions underway too, and all that kind of thing. So, I don't know. Is that communism or socialism? What is it? The education was adopted by the Romans, propagated to medieval England, and actually was brought to the United States with the Pilgrims. In fact, the education in America, the first 500 years, was what? Classical. It was a classical curriculum. I invite you to get up on the web and go look at the exams from 1800. It will boggle your mind compared to what goes on today. Beginning in the 1900s, what happened? What happened in the beginning of the 1900s? Progressive, liberal. It's not working. This is the definition by Hillsdale of what they view to be a classical charter school. Note it goes from K through 12, and it has the full spectrum. Latin, reading, and history. Very careful use of technology, no technology in the classroom. Maybe a computer lab or a science experiment or something like that. So, but if Hillsdale is going to work with you, they're going to have their own little contract, and they're going to say, it's for free, but this is what we're going to do. Now, this is hard to read, but I'm going to point out 2 things just to explain it. If you sign the roll, I'm going to send you this. And you can always go to Great Hearts and just go to any of their schools and click on curriculum in a given school. I'm going to walk over and point at one thing, and then I'm going to walk back to the mic. Phonics. Mrs. Spaulding, God bless her soul. Mrs. Spaulding, longtime teacher, came up with a technique to deal with young people on helping them learn how to read, write, speak, and listen. And she was on a real roll. And so actually, the Arizona State University did a statistical research study on her technique versus 3 others. And so when I say statistical, you can say this with a high degree of certainty that this is true. The performance of her students are here, and the others are all down here. And so there's magic underway in terms of that. Now, if you look at some of the classical curriculums, you'll see Spaulding, or you might see Riggs. Riggs came along and adopted Spaulding phonics techniques and have expanded it a bit. So I actually have here, I pulled out, just for kicks, before I came here, before I got in the car, I went up to Spaulding in Singapore, and I pulled out the requirements by the state of Florida, and then I showed the provider of these text materials and how they now conform to Common Core, called the Florida Sunshine State Standards or the Florida Standards. It goes by different names. So that's a nugget that's been picked out. It works very well. It is known to work very well. In fact, you can get content before K. You can do it yourself if you have grandchildren or young children, 2, 3, 4, and go there and get the materials for teaching those very young minds. They exist. I'm going to point at one more. That's Singapore math. Singapore math, the city-state. So in the assessments among all the countries, in terms of math performance, has been Singapore #1, Singapore #1, Singapore #1, Singapore #1. Last time they did it, Shanghai was #1, Singapore was #2. What did Shanghai do? They adopted Singapore and then just keep the teacher-to ratio like 5 to 1. So more personal attention. They got a lot of people. So the U.S. Department of Education looked at this and said, well, what's that all about? So they actually commissioned with the American Institutes of Research. What's this? Study it. And so they did a study on detail, and they came back and said, you know what? This is really good. This really works. You ought to adopt it in the U.S. school system. So I can report to you now that if you have a young person in any private school or homeschooling, Singapore math's where it's at. It's also using the Greek philosophy of a lot of sensory input, using all the senses in terms of their training for the young people. I put another curriculum at the end here. This is the current one that's up on Good Hearts. The first time I looked at mathematics, it had Exeter 1, Exeter 2, for 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th. So I go up to Exeter and I pull down, there's no textbook. There's just 10 problems of the day. Every day. Every night. 50 problems a week. Every week through the academic year. And you go home and you do that at night, and you prepare it, whatever research you do, and then you come in and prepare it, sit in a round table, and you discuss and debate the approach and the conclusions and so forth. I started clicking on like Exeter 2, that'd be 10th grade, Exeter 3, that'd be 11th grade. I don't think my university students could do these problems. So I'm telling you, this is really deep and really comprehensive. And you can see physical education begins day one with kindergarten. And then you go into the athletic teams. And you can see all the other, the art, the music, and so forth. And extensive history. So this is really a comprehensive education. Any student coming out of this is really good to go. Just for kicks, I went around and just clicked on a couple of other classical academies. What are they doing? I find the same results no matter where I go. But the one I just found 3 weeks ago, I figured posted it for you, and I posted their URL. Nova Classical Academy. Started by 3 parents who said, this is not working. We're going to do our own. Today, the Washington Post would rank them the 86th best high school in America. And look at their SAT score. In 2014, it just posted 1940. They blew the socks off of it. Their students are way up here. They have the classical curriculum magic underway. This is just showing that our STEM population in America is 4%, and the STEM population going to college is about 50% in China. So we have a problem brewing. We're going to not be competitive, I can tell you. First of all, we need to change our education system to be competitive, and secondly, we need more going into STEM. This is currently, the Barney family gave a grant to Hillsdale to help them get started. They have a few people doing this, and you can see that they're working and they're starting to propagate these classical curriculums. There's Mason Classical Academy right here. So there's one. There's another one down at the bottom. There's two that they're working with. In fact, since Mason has agreed to follow the Hillsdale model, if you go to their site, you will see the Hillsdale emblem and logo. It's an approved Hillsdale curriculum. So, but the problem they have is they only have a limited staff. So in our relationship, we basically augment what they're doing. We find the client, we help them with the application, we get them started, and then we bring in Hillsdale to help with the curriculum and so forth. I think modern education today is more like a video game. The lack of history and the use of computers and turn on the videos and everybody is plugged in. I actually think we're losing our humanity. I take my children and grandchildren to dinner, everybody's sitting there with their cell phone up under the table like they don't see it. Make them quit it. Versus the classical, which is very broad and in-depth, as I pointed out. So if I get a click, he's loading another one.
Andy.
Look at this. It's the Tea Party Network. It's each one of you from your respective county going to leave here and go home and get a few parents or get somebody and get cracking with this. And we're here to help you, and I'll show you that. You start with the young ones, and then when they graduate, they're going to have a great career and a great life. So on the timeline, this is what happens. So the next time that the application for a charter school can go in is next June. Okay, and then it goes through the review process with the local superintendent and the school board. And they will give you a first assessment, pass or fail, but you have a chance to go back and have a debate with them. And hopefully you pass. If you don't pass, you actually have the right to appeal to the state of Florida. The state of Florida has been pretty liberal. We're actually working a little bit with Jim Horn. He's the former education commissioner for the state of Florida. He's of the opinion that if you go and appeal to the state level, for the most part, you'll win. But you don't like to do that. You like to pass on the first one. So actually, it's not too soon to start determining the founding board who are those core people are going to do this. In my mind's eye, you need about 4 to get going. It'd be great to have a set of skills. A parent, maybe a financial person, maybe a legal person, maybe a marketing person, because you have to market and do the enrollment, that kind of thing. So you get a group of skills, and then you parse it out like somebody's going to have to worry about the financial plan, the business case for the school. Somebody's going to have to worry about the education plan for the school. Somebody's going to have to worry about these various plans. I've done them. I have them all. They're my opinion. But it's better to work with something than a blank sheet of paper. And then working with the board members, the founding board can tune it any way that they wish in terms of their particular school. That's how you reach me, and my partner Bill, that's how you reach him. He's actually meeting with a client this afternoon, otherwise he would probably come today. I've put down here 3 websites of interest to you that I encourage you to go look at. One is Great Hearts, a video. Go check it out. The next one is a parent's guide to a classical curriculum. So if you're not familiar with the classical curriculum, it takes you through all the detail and kind of information I've been sharing with you. And last but not least, there's a video on education in America in the early years, from 1400 to up into the 1900s. What used to go on in America, which is no longer going on. But we can make change. We can do it. You can do it. I can do it. We can do it. We're doing it. So instead of, I look at my peers at the First Coast Tea Party, and there's 7,000 on our database up there, but they're kind of beaten down and they're worn out, tired of standing on street corners. It's not going anywhere. We're not making no ends. I say, when the going gets tough, the tough get going. You got to keep after it. You got to do it. But this works. This works. I guarantee it. It's a way to change America through education, using this type of curriculum. In fact, it's success going back to days past. And we need to go back there. So, I don't know. I'll entertain any questions you may have. No questions? Sir?
I've seen on television, it appears the guy is from India, or what ethnic, that appears to be his ethnicity. And evidently he's got a way of teaching, they say, over the internet, that is supposed to, and you can call him up and try to help anybody. Have you heard anything?
Oh, I see. There are actually some schools that do distance learning. You get a personal tutor and do it. But let me tell you, I've spent many years in the classroom. So the videos don't cut it. The PowerPoints don't cut it. You flick them through, they look at it and say, yeah, I got that. I'm reminded of the fact that when I was sitting out there and I get an assignment, I'm sitting and saying, yeah, I got it. Then I go home and I pick up my pencil and I put it to paper to go solve the problem. Then I say, I'm not sure I got that. The only way you learn is you must think about it. Now, that's not to discount technology. That's not to discount distance learning. You can do tutorials, maybe do teacher training or exam preparation, that kind of thing. So technology has its place. I'm a technology guy, but not in the classroom. We're going to get out that pencil and paper. Sir?
Jerry, good seeing you again. Two questions, if I may. One is, where do you find qualified classical education teachers? That would be, I guess, my guess, probably the hardest thing to find.
So the very first hire I would make in a school, the founding board, the first hire is the principal. That person is very key and he makes the hiring decisions. He must be really good in many dimensions. He must understand a classical curriculum. He must be a fundraiser. He must be a marketing person. He's got to represent the school to the community and to the school board and so forth. So he's really key on doing this. And so my first take probably go see if I can get my friends at Great Heart maybe to go up one of theirs. But they're around, and in my business case that I prepare, I pay him very well, or her. I pay the principal or the headmaster very well. Now that person's responsible to hire others. So the next thing that's key is an experienced teacher in things like English language arts, or history, or the math. So that teacher's experienced, and you have to bring them in. But then you can hire the young ones, and then the teachers can teach the teachers. So that's kind of how I would do it if I was rolling it out myself. So there are approximately 20 colleges and universities in America that have a classical curriculum. So there's a source of new teachers, certainly, from those schools. And actually, Bill had a good idea. Turns out the military academies have some really good instructors. And they've got the discipline, and they've got, damn the torpedoes, full speed ahead kind of guys. So maybe they might be a source of headmasters and principals.
And very quickly, can you go over the financing? Because I know there's a formula. It's not, you don't get the same ratio of a public school. Could you go
Yes, so you can do this. Just go up and put in, start a charter school financing. And you'll get a automatic template that the state puts up. So the metrics are slightly different for each county. In Duval County, we have some problems, so we get a slight uplift. I'm looking at others, maybe some counties like St. John's, who are pretty well heeled, and maybe their uplifts go down. So they have a norm. Some counties get a little bit more, some counties get a little bit less. But the definition you have to put into this template is, I just did it for Duval County, for the school with the Baptist pastor. So I have to define the student population. So I'm doing a K through 4 and then I'm adding more grades. And I have to define for the first school year, each school year, the calculator comes up. The future ones aren't there because they, but the current one. But then you have to define what percentage of the student population may be disabled. So I take like 12%. Sometimes it's higher in some counties. I've been looking at that. Surprising. And so you get some additional funds from that. So having done this exercise, and so then all the calculations are done for you. It's not like sitting there doing your own spreadsheet. You just input basically the student population, what percent are disabled,
Maybe.
have some type of disability. And then you get your number. My number for Duval County currently would be 6650, $6,650. So I told you in Duval County, the current number that the county is using for their public schools is $10,500. So basically $4,000 is coming off the top. And you get the state mandated funds for the charter. But you know what? I ran out. I'm very experienced at running business cases. I've done that a lot. And I can report to you that I'm in the black the first year. So, and I'm putting in things like more than $200,000 a year to deal with maybe making payments on loans and all that kind of thing. But what you don't get, the payments start in July of the academic year. So